I want people to feel that they've been received, they've been seen, they've been recognized. So I would hope there would be a recognition or sort of a meeting of friends, such that there was an understanding and a fluency, there was an affinity. And that's the idea of the discovery call or the chemistry call. The first time I talk to a potential client is to see if we can establish that currency between us. So that's the first thing, that I'm an ally, I'm an advocate. And the idea with the coaching session is it's a safe place, a safe laboratory to bring out the best thinking process that a person can have. So it's positive, it's curious, it's creative, it's playful. And it can lead to an awakening. So I hope it's enlivening. That's what happens when the energy starts moving between coach and client. It can become so energizing that it just opens up these new rooms of energy and possibility. Well, to start out with, I do an extensive intake. And that's not just what you're facing, what your situation is, that sort of thing. It's really getting information from a number of different domains in terms of a person's entire life. That's everything from relationships to education to experiences. It's quite comprehensive. And I think that's one of the biggest things, because when I'm talking to someone, I want to know what they've already tried. I want to know what they feel their purpose is. And so I want to know what it is that are maybe their goals that they're keeping at arm's length, what things are in their lives that they don't think they've made progress with. And it's really about getting a whole person picture so that we can start with all the evidence gathered. The program is designed around a client's, what we like to call their essential nature. And that means, who are you as an individual? The coaching that I do is different because it actually conceives of each client individually as who they are, why they're here, what they want to do, and the kind of life they want to live, the kind of person they are. It can be, most people are in transition, where they feel they need to face something or something's changing, and they really want to bring their best game. People want to have their entire toolbox at their disposal. If a person's triggered, it shrinks that toolbox. So the idea is, what's bothering you? Or what are you afraid of? Or what do you think is going to be the most challenging? And so what I try to do is really listen for the narratives that a person is bringing with them, the way they approach problems, the way they work with people, the way they work with themselves. And the idea is to open up a very expansive space that's welcoming and encouraging, where the person can really talk about what's important to them. And I try to not bring a lot of concepts or sort of pre-decided ideas about a person, because people are surprising when you give them the chance to really speak for themselves in their own context. Well, I try to listen for a person's strengths. People usually come with a list of things that aren't working, things about themselves they want to improve, maybe places where they've had feedback that wasn't as positive as they would have wanted. And so that's sort of some background noise. But what's really important is who the person is, what their essence is, what their strengths are. Sometimes it's just pointing out what those things are that can help establish a foundation of confidence. And then from that, we're not looking at remaking an entire career or an entire personality or toolbox. What we're doing is saying, okay, what are the things we can let go of? And what are the things we want to orient ourselves towards that are going to be useful for where we're going? And this is all within the world of who this person really is, not who they're trying to be or who they've been told they need to be, but who they naturally occur as when they're not trying, when they're not performing. That's the basis. And to have confidence and a good feeling about the self in that way, that's kind of the starting point. Well, there's a couple of things. The first is I would say, was to come up with an inventory of your strengths and your skills, the things that set you apart from the people you know, the things you're proud of, abilities. Maybe you've got an insight into something that has been valuable. Maybe you've got intuition. Maybe you have people skills, or maybe you have a side of you that's deeper and more contemplative than others. It can be across any domain. The idea is there are things that set you apart. And so establishing a sense of self that is realistic, that is not necessarily aspiration-based, but it's based on what you have. Okay. I'd say that's the first thing. Know thyself. Another trick that I've used for myself, and I've recommended for others, is set about on a little project where your intention is to discover your reputation. And that means basically, we think we know how people think about us, but have we actually heard what people think about us? So the idea is to walk up to someone you have maybe a neutral or positive relationship with and say, hey, I'm interested to know how I occur for you. I'd like to know what you think of me, what I've done, who I am, what my potential is. And I promise you, there will be no there'll be no pushback. There'll be no repercussions for this. So just let it rip. Tell me what you think. I'm going to use this to improve. So please tell me everything. And you can do that with the people you love, the people who are your support network, but also do it with people who maybe have stronger opinions, people who maybe you're not the most popular with. Just as a tip, you've got to make sure your ego can handle it, because you can hear some things that will potentially ring in your ears for years. But it is an amazingly powerful technique to at least let you know what you're up against. It's not just your opinion, it's actual fact-based content. Knowing how you're perceived is extremely important. One of the things that is important in leadership is relatability. If you are relating to the people you're leading, then there is a common field of interaction. A lot of us have spent time being self-interested or focused on our own path. When it comes time to open that out into a leadership context, suddenly we need to see what everybody else is interested in, where they want to go. And the idea is to fold all of those individual directions and desires into the collective direction. So part of it is discovering the part of yourself that has commonality with the drives and purposes and needs of those around you. If you can feel what people are feeling, and that means getting over yourself to a degree so that you can actually notice what people are thinking and feeling, and checking in to see, are those the same drives, are those the same desires, the same similar purpose to what I have? And what is in common is the starting place for how leadership works. Leadership is about inspiring people to follow, to take instruction, to willingly show up and be part of a team. If you're the leader of that team, you're representing the direction and the desires and the purpose of not only that project, but the individuals involved. I'm a meditator. And what I've found over the years is that meditation doesn't have to be a particularly spiritual activity. It can just be a way to clear your mind, to neutralize the charge maybe that you're feeling in your body emotionally, or in terms of feeling a little jangled. Say, we've all come back from a long drive and we sit down and we realize our body is still moving. And so stress can be like that as well. There's chronic levels of stress that we kind of, we cope with. We just put up with them. Part of what I suggest people do if they're feeling stress is to have a time during the day. And this is a practice. And practices are how we put our revelations into action, how we put our revelations into a sustainable form. So if a revelation comes along that I have too much stress, but I also have these moments of clarity, okay, how do we start cultivating these moments of clarity? One way is to meditate, where you just sit quietly. Take 3 complete breaths and just let go of the momentary thoughts, the thoughts that are unique to this moment, but don't really necessarily have a lot to do with the long-term picture. And letting things go, becoming still, and then introducing spaciousness and expansion as ideas to work with. When you talk about something like spaciousness and expansion, most people naturally want to expand. They want to become spacious, they want to become less dense, less burdened. And so that spaciousness is kind of where play is, curiosity, creativity. And these are things that typically get shut down by stress. There are many different meditation techniques, and there are many different techniques of shifting context, shifting mindset, that can happen in a very short amount of time. But the idea is stress is not necessary. It's natural, but we can treat it in a way where it's not chronic. And we can kind of take more control of the energy we're moving through our system. Well, recently I was talking with a client who moved from sort of I'd say a supervisory role into more of an executive and management role. And she was using the skills of her former position to work in this new position. She was becoming overwhelmed with details. Things just kept adding to the task pile. Dozens or hundreds of unanswered emails, and just seemed like she was sinking. And what I suggested was that there's a new skill set for every advancement in responsibility and leadership. And so really what it does is it puts things in a framework where we can say, okay, I'm doing something different now. I need different skills. I need different contexts. And so we went through some of the standard issue things like, delegate when you can and prioritize your tasks and that sort of thing. But what I asked her to do in this case was to really connect with the guide within her that could give her quick decision-making power so that she could sort through this jungle of tasks that had cropped up in the last few months of her new position. And so it's really about shifting the context.